What we have here is a sagging headliner in this low miles BMW. You can see here where the material is separated. It's always going to be that foam backing that separates, and then you got a sagging headliner. So what we're going to do is we're going to be removing this headliner from the vehicle and putting it on a table so that way we could strip all that old foam off. Every car is different the way a headliner comes out. So most cars, about 99.8% of them, you want to bring the headliner out through the front passenger door, or if it's a two-door, through the passenger door. But this vehicle, this BMW here, it's got a huge center console, so you can't pass it through that front passenger door. So, but they do have a really huge back door. So what I was able to do is I was able to back it out of the driver's side back door pretty easily. When we're at this point, pretty much every headliner is the same. So we have this foam backing here that separates. You can see that huge mess right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to strip off the material, which will take about 2 seconds to do because it'll just peel off. But we're probably going to spend about the next hour scraping off all this old foam right here. And it all has to come off in order for the new headliner material to stick. So here we go. Pretty much as I predicted, the fabric just literally just fell off of this thing. I don't even know how it was staying on. So I guess that's why it's here. That's why we're putting a new one. So you can see this sticky, nasty foam here. It's gooey and it feels sticky. So what we got to do is we got to get it off. You can see it's balling up here. So what I usually use, these are my two tools that I use here. Nice soft plastic one. So that gets it off pretty good. Sometimes you might have a headliner that's a little tougher to get off, so I'll use something a little more aggressive like this. And you're going to make a huge mess, and this stuff's going to end up on the floor. And you'll see here in a little while, I'll make the pile for you, and you'll be kind of shocked at what kind of a mess this makes. This is what I ended up sweeping up on the floor here. So that's the big mess, and that's something that you don't want to step on because it'll stick to the floor, and it'll also stick to your shoes. It's really gooey stuff on this car. My hands, it feels like I poured pancake syrup on my hands. It's so sticky I had to go wash my hands with some mineral spirits. So anyway, just about there. So you can even see here that the scrub brush that I use, I got all gummed up. Nasty, nasty stuff. Well, now I got it pretty well cleaned up, and it made a huge mess. So the stuff was flying around everywhere. Needless to say, do this somewhere outside. I do it here by my back door because the stuff flies everywhere. Don't do it in your mom's kitchen, okay? She'll never forgive you. Trust me. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. What we've done so far is pretty basic stuff. Stuff that you'd have to do on every headliner. But coming up are going to be all the techniques. So you can see this particular headliner, as do a lot of other headliners, have these recesses like this. These inside corners is what we're really going to have to pay attention to. We need extra material in all these corners, and they're everywhere on this headliner. They're all in here, they're all in here, they're in here. So I'll show you how to put extra material in those areas, so that way because you don't really want to bridge the material across, because you'll never get it to stretch down into those areas. So stay tuned. More coming up. I had to turn off the fans in order to do the video here. I didn't want to bother you guys with fan noise. But anyway, it's burning up in here. It's June in Houston. It's 97 degrees in here right now. So what I just did is I took this paint thinner. You could buy this stuff over at Home Depot. And it's a lot cheaper than the stuff that they sell. I think it's called Wax and Grease Remover by a company that sounds like Three Men. Anyway, that stuff is super expensive, and this stuff here actually works better, I think, because what this does, it dissolves the. It doesn't dissolve the glue, but it removes the glue. It balls up the glue. It doesn't thin it out. So that's what I would recommend. Anyway, what I did is on these all the inside corners, I put that mineral spirits in there to try to loosen up some of the gooey stuff. So I did that to all the inside corners. You can see there where it's still a little wet. So what I'm going to do is, being that it removes glue, which I don't want it to do after I glue the material on, I got to let that dry for a couple hours before I go to glue the material on. Now that we got it all prepared and we're going to go ahead and put the material on, this is where all the techniques come into play. This is what we've been waiting for. So we'll start off by laying out the material. So here we go, just like this. Make sure there's plenty of overlap all the way around, because there's going to be a lot of waste anyway. A lot of waste. I'll be able to use it for other stuff, I guess. So let's make sure that we're centered nicely. Make sure we get plenty of overlap all the way around, so we can afford it, because there's a lot of material. So I'm going to get rid of some of this material here to make our job a little easier. So I can see that the headliner itself ends right here. So I'm just going to make sure that I got plenty of overlap. Get rid of some of this excess here. So that's technique number 1855. Making job a little easier for you. Now we're going to start spraying glue. So we're going to go half and half. Pull the material back halfway. So what we're going to do is start gluing this whole front half here. I guess I got to stress more glue in these indentions right here, these little concave areas. This is where the material has to grab. That's where our emphasis is going to be, in these low areas right here that I talked about earlier in the video. Not so much emphasis on the outside corners, because they wrap around the outside. What we need is, we need to put our emphasis on what's going to be on the inside curves. So we'll do all those inside curves first. You know, remember, we're using the best contact adhesive. It's yellow in color. That's how you know you're using the right stuff. Don't use anything that comes in a spray can. It's like Super 70 something, sounds like Three Men. Don't use that. And if you've ever seen a video where they tell you to use that, that's bad advice. It is bad for this kind of stuff. Doesn't work. So only use the right stuff. Maybe I can glue that mosquito there. What else is really important is that you get all your outside edges. So technique number 565 is that wherever there's no glue, it's not going to stick. That's something I learned a long time ago. And when you're in doubt, hit the spot again. Okay, so we got the first front half of the headliner sprayed up. So now we're going to do the material. Okay, so it doesn't really matter how you hit the headliner part, but it does matter how you spray your glue onto the material. So what a lot of guys do is they'll really just spray directly down onto the foam like that. And what it does is it saturates the foam puffs, and it can even leak, go through to the fabric side, and then you got yourself a mess. So this is technique number 134, is how you spray the material. You don't spray it down like that, like I just showed you. What you do is you fan it out across the material and let the glue drop as it's falling. So you kind of go horizontally rather than vertically. And you keep it moving. So that way you get a nice light spray and hold the gun back. Hold the gun back at a pretty decent distance, because this stuff is flying 4 and 5 feet anyway. So do your fan area. Make sure everything's coated nicely, nothing's saturated. I don't want to bore you guys with doing the other side. I'm going to cut the video here and do that and come back. Now that I have the glue laid down on both sides, we're going to go ahead and lay this over the top. I'm going to rotate this out because I'm working on the front side. Oh, the other thing, okay, so this is technique number 45. This is very important with some materials. Sometimes you only get one chance to lay it down. You can't lay it down and then pull it back up again, or you're going to destroy the material. So we don't want to do that. So I know that I need extra material for these the sunroof corners. So I'm actually going to leave the material loose, and I'm going to set those corners first. With the loose material to make those corners. So get that set. Okay, the next thing that we need to set that's very important are these indentations here where the grab handles go. So once again, leave the material kind of loose. I guess you couldn't see that, huh? I was holding the material in the way. You might be able to see me do the other side. Press those corners real good. Okay, I hope you can see this one. Leave the material loose. That way you can go around those corners. Okay, so if you end up with wrinkles like this is technique number 35. It was always number 35. Okay, so you don't want wrinkles like this. So the technique is if the wrinkle is going this way, you pull opposite. So actually I see that there's a wrinkle going this way and this way, X and Y. So what we will do is we'll pull it out. Just like that. Okay, so we have those set. Next of importance is here where the sun visors go. It's also very deep. So I'm going to set center right here. Then I'm going to pull away from center to get us that extra material. Same thing here, leave it loose. That way we can get down inside there. Just dig in like that with your thumb. This is a three-dimensional headliner for sure. So we got these wrinkles here that we're going to pull out. Pull opposite the wrinkle and it comes out. Repeat on the other side. Now that I have the front set, let's do the rear half. So we'll do the same thing. We'll fold the material out of the way and then we'll glue the headliner first. All the indentations first and edges. And then we fill in the middle. That's not fast motion. That's real speed in real time. I didn't speed up the video. Or you can go slow motion like this. But slow motion takes too long. Where I guess they want headroom for the rear passengers, it's like a bowl shape. So you got to make sure that you put plenty of glue in there, because that's where one of the first place it will fail. Now grab the material, lay it over lightly. And do those inside corners again. I got both sides set now. So next thing that we do is with a flat palm, you go over the entire headliner and make sure you get everything down nicely. So the reason you use the flat palm, this is technique number 435. If you use your fingers like this, the glue is still very fresh. You can actually put dents in with your fingertips. A lot of these places that do like one-day headliners, they don't give the glue time to dry overnight. So what happens when they're reinstalling the headliner is they're like this, trying to hold the headliner up as they're installing it with still wet glue. So you get these dents. So what you do is you take your flat palm and you rub it down really good. No dents. Make sure everywhere is pressed down very nice. Flat palm. Go over the whole headliner, because you don't want anything coming up later. I've never had a headliner come back in all these years, because you got to make sure you put enough glue number one. And then you have to make sure that everything is pressed down. That's the reason you put the glue. Now what I do, now that everything is set, I flip it over. So this is technique number 585. A lot of these car manufacturers, they cut the material right to the edge, and that's why a lot of them fall apart on the edge. They come loose. But my technique here is that we're going to wrap every edge. That way it's impossible that it would ever come undone around any edge. So what we'll do is we'll glue it all up first. Glue the edge, both sides fabric and headliner. All of the edges are glued up. So now I'm going to get rid of all this extra material, leaving about 1.5 inches all the way around. So for outside corners, like this right here, what I do is I'll just cut a 45-degree angle right across that corner, like that. For inside corners, oh, this is technique number 632. So what I do is I'll take the scissors and I'll cut to about 1/4 inch away from the headliner. This is where I'll stop the cut. So I will put one of those on either side of the inside corner right here, because what that does is if you pull on that, you get a really nice inside corner, just like that. So for the outside corner where I cut the 45, you just fold that under, and voila. I think that's a little French lingo there. Okay, then once you get it all trimmed, this is technique number 432. So what you do is you take your flat hand and you roll this edges and set it. This way you end up with a nice even pull on the edge. What a lot of guys do is they'll take it and they'll pull it like this. They'll pull it and then set it, and then this here ends up looking like the waves of the ocean right here. It just looks terrible. So anyway, we're not going to do that. The inside corner just puts a little relief cuts just like that. Same as before, you pull on it, you got yourself a little handle right here that you could pull. Got an outside corner right here. Cut the 45 just like that. Take your palm, your flat hand, and roll it over like that. So I'm going to go ahead and do this all the way around. I'm not going to bore you guys with the formalities. Now we have all the rolled edges, which is better than what the BMW factory gives you. So now we have all these access holes for lights, for visors, consoles, sunroof. So we got to cut all these out. Same thing, about 1.5 inches overlap all the way around. Technique number 734 is you never cut too short. It's better off to cut and leave yourself too much material that you can trim later. Because if you cut too short the first time, you can't make it grow back. So that's a very important technique there. So I'm making the relief cuts here so that way the material can wrap around all the edges. Okay, for other access holes like these little lights, just cut slightly on the inside of the opening to leave a little bit of overlap, because you don't want to cut that too short either. That would look funny. And you do that all the way around. I believe I'm finished. So I got everything all cut out, trimmed out. That's what the other side looks like. So I'm just going to go ahead and let this dry like this overnight. And make sure that the glue sets real nice before I install it in the car. And just like that, there's more magic for you. So I put it in when you guys weren't looking. So you guys got to pay more attention. Anyway, it's back in. So what I'm doing here in these videos is I'm sharing my closely guarded secrets that I've kept for over 40 years. And I realize now that I'm getting near the end of my career that I would go ahead and share these techniques with you for the new generation that's coming up. If you found this video helpful, if you learned something new, please hit the like button and please subscribe to my new channel. It'll help me grow this channel, and I'll be bringing new stuff almost daily, it seems. Every time I'm working on something, I'm making a new video. Until next time, we'll see ya.